Hello everyone, welcome back to Beneath the Lift Tower, your Saints fans podcast, by fans, for fans. My name's Charles McGilvray and I'm once again joined by Jess Kebble and Simon Stacey. Quite a quiet weekend, not a lot going on. And see anything you liked? How you both doing?
It's a bit boring, wasn't it, really? Madness, wasn't it? It's a nil side. 90 points. I've never seen the like. I've been going 38 years. I've not seen that in a league match anyway. Mental. Absolutely mental. I didn't predict. I thought we might rest a few and they'd bring a few more first teamers, but that was men against boys. You got to feel for them because they got an absolute arse kicking. Excuse my French. Mental.
Yeah, like we may as well dig into that because the thing is though, when you look at, you can overanalyze their side all you want, right? But when you look at it on paper, there are some very good players that they sent, right? They've got an international scrum half in Varney, he's a very good player. They've got Charlie Atkinson, who's he's a really promising, really good Premiership 10. Clement's been great for them. Ludlow's one of their great players. Tuasoa is an absolute beast, right? It's not completely awful, right? But what it does show is how much the game is a mental game because they didn't look up for it one bit and they got absolutely thumped, like you said. Like they just didn't want any part of it. First phase of attack from Saints, we walked in, they didn't even lay a hand on us. Like that's just not good enough from a Premiership side, is it?
No, I think that's why I was
that way.
Yeah. I think that was the thing as well, though, with everyone saying like, oh, it was Gloucester's fourth team or whatever, and I was like, there's 6 players in there I've heard of, and at least a few of them, if not most of them, are like starters. Like you said, like Tuasui, Ludlow, Varney, Atkinson, like they all start regularly for Gloucester. They should have been able to inspire the rest of that team to something. And I think that's why I was just so surprised that I never thought that we were going to lose. I always thought it was going to be a big victory, but that was never what happened. Was never in my mind. And then B, like I said, when you see the team, you think there's some players in there that should have been able to spark them to put something on the board.
Yeah, well, Charlie Atkinson had his chance to put something on the board.
Yeah, that was incredibly unfortunate, wasn't it?
That was the most pressured kick I think I've ever seen because the whole crowd booed. But I'd have done the same thing myself. I'd have done exactly the same thing. But that pressure on that kick and then he fluffed it. I was absolutely in tears laughing. I was like, poor bugger.
Yeah, we were sat next to some Gloucester fans and they just laughed. I think that's all they could do once we'd hit that stage of the game. It was right in front of the post. So I just remember thinking, like, I have got no sporting bones in my body in terms of physical ability, and I could have given it a better go.
Fair play to their fans. I can't remember what we did right near the end. Knocked on or something, and they did their Eeyore. We were winning by about 70 points. I thought it was quite hilarious.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's the thing, though. It's a long way from Gloucester, and maybe some of the fans that turned up for them were locals who support them, etc. But it's a long way to go to watch a team take 90. And I know there's not Gloucester aren't going to go down. There's no relegation and what have you, and the Premiership's clearly not part of their remit at the moment. But there's got to be a question as to that. What's happened there? Like, if they'd sent their first team and they weren't mentally up for it and they took 90, go, right, well, it's an embarrassing state of affairs, but it is what it is. But to send a team, their centre partnership was a real pair of youngsters. That Hillman Cooper, I felt bad for him because we asked so many questions of him and he just wasn't capable of answering them. And you've got a question as well, is he going to see chance again? Having received that beating again, is he going to that he's been chucked in the deep end? Is he going to get another chance to swim?
That could have ruined some careers, that game, because that's going to stick in your head. Your first chance, and you absolutely came. It's not good.
And it also felt as well that it has done that, and it didn't. It just, I don't know. It doesn't feel necessary to me to rest that many players that far out. Like, I know it's 2 weeks away, but there's been then a week since they've all played before that. So you're looking at 3 weeks that most of their team won't have played by the time you get to that stage. Just felt too early to me to be resting that many people and sending. I mean, you shouldn't do it. You don't want any game, to have a 90-0 happen. But you just think now, if they don't go on and win that, Challenge Cup final, that coaching team are in some bother. if they already aren't at this point.
That game's done some damage. That game has done some damage, even for like Lewis Ludlow and that. He's like,
that's what I mean.
Starter. That's hit hard. That's going to mess your head up mentally. To get an absolute kicking like that, it doesn't matter what the game means. You go out to play and win. 90-0. That's a cricket score.
Yeah, I think the thing that what stood out to me as well is like there was not a single challenge from anyone, and I'm not trying to crap on this team any more than they probably already feel based on how they performed in the scoreline. But it's just we scored in less than a minute, and you just felt like the writing was on the wall immediately. It was scary, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tibasoi put in a few big shots on dingers, but that was about the sum total of what they got together. I mean, we got to think, Saints have been in a bad situation in the past, and you can see what Gloucester are trying to achieve. When we went 11 games on a losing streak, sort of during COVID period, you could see what they were trying to. Sort of the whole world went zig and we went zag, and how we reacted to that, and we just got it completely wrong. But we developed our squad massively, and Gloucester are clearly looking to put some pieces in place for the next few years to develop a young side and hopefully go up the table like we have, right? But I don't think we ever reached the low of this sort of hammering. We've taken some hammerings, but this is a hammering and a half, isn't it? I don't think there's much more to be said though on how poor and how bad it was, and how Gloucester were, etc. And I think there is an element of the cost of rugby is not cheap, and those fans have spent 50 quid to watch their team play and take 90 points. I know it's a professional sport and you can't guarantee results, but there's something to be said there, isn't there?
You should be guaranteeing that you aren't going to go away from home and get 90 points put on you, and not just that you get 90 points put on you, but you put nothing on the board.
You say that, but do you not remember? I can't remember how many years ago it was. We were totally out of Europe, and we sent the Wanderers to Leinster, didn't we? And people would have spent hundreds of pounds travelling for that, knowing we're going to get our asses kicked. So it is similar. I do get the point, but you do want the boys to put in a bit of effort. And like you said, it wasn't like it was all their academy. It wasn't. It was a mix of pros that were just obviously thinking, I've got 2 weeks away from a final. I don't want to get injured.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to some of the positives of Northampton. I don't think we got out of third gear. I think it's sort of the example of when we first half against Leinster, we obviously felt it was an enormous occasion, and the team overplayed a bit, forced things a bit. Whereas I think they sort of knew going into this, if they go through their systems, go through their processes, keep that shape, they're going to score. So they just did everything they did really lovely, and it worked. I mean, they have that shape of attack where they find the edge really well, and every player has an option in taking the ball, and they just did it time and time again until we basically scored. The first touch of the ball off the line, at the top of the line, out along the line, a bit of shape, a bit of pace from Furbank, and through we are, scored a try. Not hand laid on anyone.
Yeah,
they just kept doing it. What did you think? Let's go, Jess. What do you think?
Apologies. Yeah, I think the key thing that stood out to me is that no, we didn't have to get into fourth gear, but we also didn't stay in first gear. Like, we didn't let up for a single minute of that. So you go in at halftime and it's 40-0 at halftime, right? And I think 40 something was the scoreline, was my prediction. So I was like, well, I'm already screwed here because we scored that in one half of rugby. And I remember thinking they could come out in the second half and just take their feet off the gas if they wanted to, not have to throw too much into it if they didn't want to. But actually, I felt like, you're right, they didn't get out of third gear, but it also felt like they consistently stayed in third gear. It wasn't a case of, we've already put 40 points on this team, we're going to just take our foot off the gas. No, they wanted to make a point. And they did. They made the point, scored. I mean, I'm not surprised we scored slightly more points in the second half. Like, that is kind of understandable to me. But yeah, it just felt like we weren't planning to let up at any point. It felt ruthless, but not to the extent where we had to obviously throw everything into it. But yeah, it just felt like we never took our foot off the gas. And I think that was really key for me. And it felt like, particularly in the end, because Gloucester had a couple of moments in the second half and we defended really hard So it was a case of like, we didn't want them to score anything. Like that was, it wasn't just that we wanted to put points on the board, but they really wanted to make a point. And like I said, everything just worked. I think we maybe dropped the ball in the whole game maybe twice, if I can really think of off the top of my head. Everything else just went to hand.
Yeah.
A couple of kicks they couldn't regather. Ollie Slightholme, I think it was one moment where he got mad because the kick just came off his foot all wrong and he couldn't regather it before it went out. But otherwise, everything just went completely perfect. And I think they needed that because against Leinster and against Harlequins, barely any of our balls made it to hand. Knock-ons, forward passes, just we had mistakes all over the park. And yes, some people will obviously make the argument that it's not going to be that easy when you come up against stronger opposition, and I get that, but it also is just going to build confidence that when the ball does go to hand, when we can keep it, we can do some really good stuff with it. And I still think we can do that against like a Bath or whoever our semi-final opponent is going to be. It's also going to be harder than it was against Gloucester, that's just obvious, but they can take some confidence in that actually we can get the ball through the hands, we can create that space, we can score tries. I think that confidence is what they've been lacking after sort of Harlequins and Leinster, obviously in particular. That was a hard loss for them. You could see that on the day.
Yeah.
So I'm just glad that we had something that. Yeah. So I think I'm just glad that there was something where everything went to hand really nicely. Everything worked. They can take that confidence into this weekend and further into the competition that we can actually do it. We can play like that. Yes, it's not going to be as easy. Teams aren't going to let us run riot like that. But we can go from one end of the pitch to the other and keep hold of that ball.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's, to be honest, keeping up the car metaphor. I thought the last 20 minutes we were almost in tick over. Like they did seem to ease up a bit, I thought, but they still score tries. Like the James try came out of just like
pure.
Oh my god!
Like it wasn't like they were going through like shapes and really putting any impact on them. They were just throwing the ball around and they got and it worked. The support lines were casual and really well run, and they were. I mean, Tommy Freeman must be the unluckiest man alive to do the amount of support lines that he ran, the amount of line breaks he made, and not to get on the score sheet. I mean, there were a few forward passes. The Ollie's second try was 100% forward pass. And there was a few sort of knock-ons or whatever, forward passes more than knock-ons from him when he was trying to get the ball out quickly. But he was so good. Like his power and his lines and his support play. I mean, that's why he's destined to be an outrageously good centre. He has all the makings of it. And when you're up against an inexperienced centre partnership who couldn't handle him, he tore them apart. It was, I thought it was incredible.
That was mental. Yeah. It's a bit like Harlem Globetrotters towards the last 20 minutes, wasn't it? They were taking. I love taking the piss, but they were literally not purposely. You just see it, the little offloads, the little flicks, everything worked, and it was just good to see him do a full 80. Full 80 minutes of pure brilliant rugby, and it was good to see. I didn't even feel sorry for Gloucester in the end. The people sitting around like, I want them to score. I was like, no, I don't.
No, that was,
you nil them.
That was the one thing I wanted to happen. I didn't like, once we got past, say, 70, I didn't really care about scoring more. I just wanted to keep that 0. There was that bit at the end where, like, it's almost like I said, we lost our intensity in attack, but we definitely didn't lose it in defence. It was very clear that that meant something to them, keeping the team to 0. And when they were on our line at the end, it was sort of, this is almost an important moment in the game. You're 90-0 up, but it's crucial that they don't score. And I think it was Iogan and Timo managed to get through, nick the ball, and turn it over for us to get it out. But I think defensively, we gave Gloucester no options really. They were going backwards. They had no go forward. They were pushing it, making errors. We were getting the ball back, and we dominated possession really.
I mean, it's the first game in a long time where I sort of think not a single one of them had a bad game in any way, shape, or form. Everybody was just on it in whichever way they needed to be. Backs, forwards, whatever. I mean, it was always going to be a backs game. You could just tell that within the first minute in terms of but the forwards got a good, they got a good show in there. They got some tries. They did score some good tries, but it felt like it was a running rugby game. when you think about the amount of times we went from, our side of the field up to theirs and scored. But I liked that it was a good mix in terms of who got over the line. You get to see some line out mauls, that's always good to see, along with like Tom James's try from literally one end to the other, turn over the ball and up you go and score a try.
Yeah, you got props running in from 20 metres. That says everything.
Yeah.
Miller Mills made so many breaks when he come on.
He was absolutely ridiculous.
All four props were just phenomenal. I mean, obviously, both loose heads scored. Big Trev was charging down box kicks. And then when Miller Mills came on, he was absolutely incredible. He was rampaging everywhere. That breakdown would have been our right, sort of left as I'm watching, but right down the pitch was just like, what's he doing? He was fantastic when he came on. But they also dominated at scrum time. It's not like when we've had props previously where they might be amazing around the park, but we're getting something in the scrum. They were absolutely dominating them in the set piece, and still flying around the pitch. It was the four props were definitely standouts, and I mean, what a moment for Alex Waller. Yeah. Call it 60 meters out, but what a finish! Yeah. But what a smile when he got it down, and then he sort of came up. What a moment! The crowd loved that. That was incredible.
It's when he came off. My God, even I got a bit of dust in my eye. You see his face. He's walking towards me. He was proper balling. So it's like just the realisation. I know he's got one more game, but that was the official last game, wasn't it? And it just speaks a lot to him. And it's a lot of big characters leaving. So we have to see. There was
some incredible tries scored that day, but that obviously stood out as the best one just because of like the emotional context to it. Just about like you said, he didn't just smile when he got over that. He just laughed. Like, of course I've done this. Of course I've done this. Like 10 years on from when I last, not when he last scored a try. I'm sure he's probably scored some in between. But thinking that 10 years on and we could go and win the title this year, and he was just laughing when they dragged him off the ground. Just he obviously like couldn't hold it in. How kind of funny, but also great. He obviously found that moment, and so it was really great to see. I still think that last try I can't remember if it was the last one actually, but that one with that Tom James finished off, that still felt like the best one of the day in terms of so it's kind of a shame. I mean, we're going to come on to the awards dinner in a few episodes time, but a shame that like the shortlists for the tries obviously already come out and we've already voted and it will be decided, because that I think could have made it on and perhaps been the winner maybe.
I mean, in terms of just like off the cuff skill, reading the game, support play, it was a phenomenal try. But the first one out, like the one in a minute, that was just like, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to do it, and they can't touch us. The set play off the line out, running that shape they run, and just doing it perfectly, flawlessly, is a thing of beauty. But then also just like you said, Simon, the Harlem Globetrotter style, flowing down the right wing with Timo involved and Augustus involved, and James again, starting it and finishing it. It was absolutely quality. I think just to go with it, you said about Waller coming off and sort of tears in his eyes and everything. I think and Ludlam after the match was similar. He was sort of choking up a bit. What it is amazing to see that the club and these appearances mean as much to them as it does to the fans. It matters. They're not mercenaries doing a job, and it is their job, don't get me wrong, but it really is a love, and it really matters to them. And Mooney also got a try on his day as well. Let's not overlook that. He managed to get one. I thought it was destined Courtney was going to get a try as well. They seem to all be for a game. He might be saving for a bigger game, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, when they took him off, I was like, you can't do this, because someone's going to get the ball to him at some point. I was like, you can't do this, but they did.
Not as funny as taking Curtis Landon off when we've got a 5 metre line out and he's on a hat trick. Sam Malvesi comes on and scores the try.
Scores 2 as well. He scored 2 in the game, so you're just like, I think that's what I mean though. Like I said, it felt, when you were first watching it, I was like, this feels like a game for the backs. But then the forwards, honestly, they were just like, now we're going to get into this. And they did some great running. Some running that you just would expect from your backs. Like, it just felt like all of them were on the rampage.
That's a lot.
Yeah. It was hot.
Yeah, we've seen Sonny Bill Hill. I think we've got to now officially move that title onto Sonny Bill Coles. I mean, his offloading game is just outrageous, and he's hitting line
silly.
and sliding like an actual centre. He's a
silly.
unique player, is Alex Coles.
Yeah, I'm glad we're keeping hold of him.
Yeah, he's a significant player, I think, for us going forward.
And I mean, we've got to. I mean, we seem to be doing this every week at the moment, every time he plays. But got to get a word in there for Slightholme, who actually did manage to get a hat trick.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's
48. Yeah, 48
hours.
Yeah,
and on the week he's had a baby as well. Yeah,
he did the old.
he must have been. He did do the
cradle celebration after the first try. Yeah.
I mean, that's probably just like the best week of his life. To be fair.
Yeah, he's probably tired by now, but yeah.
He's probably tired beforehand. But I can't help but just think like how genuinely scary it is. Like, it's not just that the pace can turn on like that, like literally at the snap of a finger. All of a sudden, it's just like he's added so much more to his game, like in terms of like the offloads and things like that. Like, because it used to just be like he had pure pace. He got the ball in his hand and he just, but you know, he wasn't necessarily a regular starter, was he? So
it was a selfish figure. He did what wingers do: get the ball and run. Now he thinks, "Hang on, I'm going to get tackled. I'll pop it." You know, so
and now he's
amazing. It was literally, I was just like, you see him get the ball because I sit in the churches, so I'm looking at the side second half, and I just stood like, bye. You can see he's just going to go, and he just pegged anybody he got past. It's absolutely beautiful.
If you remember his debut, when he scored with his first touch, down that right wing, you know, if you're looking at the churches, it's the other way, right to left, or left to right if you're looking at them. But anyway, he scored that. It was just that belt of pace down that right wing where he just goes outside the last man and they can't touch him. And even if they do, he's so big and powerful that he just blasts through anyway. With him, it's like hunting, and you've got like the golden bullet, and it's just about waiting and creating an opportunity to get the ball to him and give him an option to fire. Because as soon as he gets the the engines firing and he's away, there is very little stopping him. He is an exception. I mean, he got clocked at 10.8 meters a second, I think. I mean, that's insanity. You know, that's like the whole that's pushing like Olympic athlete standard sort of. If he was from a different country, he'd be going to the Olympics. You know, it's sort of, he's seriously fast.
But like he said, it's like Simon said, he's learned that sometimes he's not actually going to be the one that gets over the line, and that he needs to offload it, or at the very least, you know, sometimes you see, right, I've got to offload it, and then he'll get the ball back, and then he'll get over the line. But that's what I mean. I think it's just he wasn't necessarily our starter a few seasons ago, or maybe even last season, the season before he wasn't, and now one of the first names on the team sheet because of the pace and getting over the line. But like I said, the offloading ability, the ability to create space, he's just added so much to his game. But he's just become, because I mean, like, you know, not even a few months ago we were, you know, but when Ollie had his injury, everybody was talking about Ram and Hendy and Freeman and Dingwall and Furbank, talking about all of these. And then he's come back from his injury and he's like, right, I'm going to get myself into that conversation. And he's definitely done that.
That's always been the case with Ollie, because he's such a physically impressive player.
Yeah.
And he's got real finishing ability. And his ability over the ball and his aggression, his defence is outrageously good. But it's just been getting that run of games where he can maintain his fitness. And obviously this season he's on the whole done that. And he's finished top of the try scoring charts by some distance. Yeah. He scored like 5
we're not at the end
tries
either.
Second person, you know. See how we go. But 14 tries, and the nearest to him I think is on 9. Like he's well and above in terms. And I know the thing was with tries, it's not really an individual stat; it's a team stat. You know, Ollie wouldn't have scored any if he wasn't getting on the end of these passes. So it is a team stat, but you give him a chance and he takes it. And now we're seeing this run of games from him. We're seeing how good a player he is. And I think it was Tom May this week said that. Oh no, Mark Cueto, sorry, said this week that he has to go on that England tour in the summer. Like, there isn't a winger who should be picked ahead of him. He is on fire. Yeah. And I mean, he might fancy a trip to New Zealand and get out of baby changing. But he's phenomenal at the moment.
You have him on one week, and I can never remember his name. The young lad at Exeter. Yeah, that one. Imagine those two wingers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, England have got such a girth of talent. I think Muir is a phenomenal player. I think Tom Roebuck is a very good international winger. His ability in the air. I think James Ram, at times this season, has been good enough for England. And then you've obviously got Tommy, who's been playing centres for us, but he's got the shirt at the moment, really, hasn't he, as a winger for England. So their talent there is outstanding, really. But anyway, anything else we want to cover off with the Gloucester game? The record home win in the Premiership history. It's not the record win because Richmond trounced Bedford in the day, but it is a record win. Anyone want to cover off anything else for that game?
No, we would have actually had the record. No offence to bloody hell, if he kicked all his conversions apparently, because it's 95 points, isn't it?
Yeah, we left 8 points on the we missed 4 kicks.
Yeah.
So not good enough really.
Or didn't he, bless him? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think Ferbs to me at the end looked like he wanted to be off the pitch. It was almost like he didn't want to stick the boot in. You can read what you want into that, but
I must also say that was one of the kind of highlights sort of from Gloucester for me, that I can't think of what player it is, and I apologise to whoever it is in advance, but I'm not that familiar with most of their squad outside of like the key players, who kept trying to kind of charge at him and put him off his game, and he did, and he got sort of like he got high fives from Fairbank every time he walked past him. He was like, good on you for still trying.
I think it was their fullback Hathaway who was doing that. Yeah.
Still putting some effort in just to try and stop the points.
He actually started for them in the European semi they just had, and I think from a position that you're in as a player like that, you've just got to try and do anything you can to show to your coaching staff that you're not going to give up. And it's an easy win for a winger I'll just chase down every one of these because I'm making it very clear to them, I've got some character and I'm not going to go away sort of thing. But tough day for them for sure. But great occasion, a great day out for Saints fans.
Some people say it was boring because it was so one-sided, but it's like you could say that, but you still put to sword 90 points to a Premiership team. It's not boring.
I remember seeing some comments saying that they felt like the atmosphere wasn't very good, and I was like, you must have been in a different stadium because there were some cheers going throughout that game. Like for example, Alex Wallace try, that was by no means the first try. It was towards the kind of latter stages, and people were still going for it at that point. And look, in terms of like boring in terms of the contest maybe, but I would certainly say that the skill and the talent and the tries that you saw, there was not a single thing that was boring about any of that. I had a great time watching them.
Just enjoyed it. Every time we had the ball, we just thought they're going to score here. Whip pass,
exactly.
They're gone. He's like,
there's no doubt about it though. Like, a tight fixture where it comes down to the last second and we win it at the death is its amazing, unique thing. But that day, because it was the last day of the season and the sun was out and we knew it was sort of the ceremony at the end, etc., it just felt like a bit of a celebration of the year, especially after the sort of emotions of Leinster. I think we could all do with just a walkover. I think if we sort of like, here we go again and we're going down to the end, it would have. I'm not sure many people could have taken it. It's not good for people's health.
It's quite a regular thing, though, isn't it? The last game of the season. Just from memory, I think we've done it to Wasps, we've done it to Sale, hit 60, 70 points.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. So when we won the title 10 years ago, our final regular home game was that 74-13 win over Wasps.
Wasps, it was, yeah. I thought it was Wasps.
Yeah. It was Wasps, yeah. We just completely put them to the sword that day.
It's just what you get at the end of the year when different teams have got different agendas, haven't you? And it might just be the case that teams are looking to have a good blowout at home to finish off their year, and the team going away don't really want to be there because it's a mental game, isn't it? And if you're not 100%, you're going to get beat. I mean, the only thing I would say is, this is the stat, I don't want to keep going on, but we conceded 13 turnovers in that fixture. So in a game when we've won 90-0, we've still had more turnovers than we'd won.
Yeah.
Yeah. I must say, though, what it felt to me as well, though, that we also got a lot more turnovers than we have in previous games. like it felt like we turned over a lot of the ball
15.
in an area where we haven't been at our best, to put it lightly.
You look at the back row though; it's only really Courtney that does the turnovers, isn't it? Because Gus is just the tank that carries everything, and Scott Young's the tackler. He just
work rate.
The work rate. They're not really
But I must say it certainly wasn't. Yeah, I must say though, it certainly wasn't just Courtney. Like you said, some of the props got a good few of those turnovers to their names, and some of the others. So it actually felt like, yes, we did get turned over quite a lot, and it's still an area that we need to focus on. But it also felt like we made a bit more of a concerted effort to try and do it ourselves too. That I also felt was missing.
Yeah, no, I agree.
From previous fixtures.
I think to go to Simon's point, it's a case of how long now has it been since we've actually really had our recognised sevens in the Pearson and Ludlam are two of our best players, and we've barely seen them. Like since the Six Nations period, we've barely had either of them playing at their best, and they are literally two of our best players. So we're going quite well on the basis that we've missed those two. If you drop Pearson into this side, what's the limit of the level that we can get to? Could have been 150 now. We've dropped him in, like he was pushing for England and playing some of the best rugby. I think got man of the match for England Day, and then we haven't seen him since. And having not that he is an out and out seven pilfer of the ball. I think Ludlam's a bit more of that. And Graham does a good job when he plays 8 doing that. But yeah, it's an area where we're not the strongest, I think, still.
No.
Yeah, but
Definitely.
Gloucester don't have a pilferer really. Ludlow's more of a work rate sort of 7.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big factor in.
We need to win the game now because we've lost Courtney, so he's the turnover king. We haven't got that anymore.
No.
So we've lost that. So someone's gonna have to step up.
To be fair, Courtney's the king at everything.
Yeah.
It's like our best ball carrier, our best defender, our best getting over the ball, our best line out option, our best forward in the first phase. Like he is literally the best at everything.
Yeah. But I mean, as we move on to the game against Bath, obviously some of those guys looks like they're coming back. So Ludlam did say at the end of that game in the presentation that he'll be back next week, and he said he'll be playing. So I'm assuming he's probably been. I'm assuming he's been told that. He's probably not just going to guess that, but you would play him if he's just come back and you want to get him into match form. So we'll certainly hopefully have him back, and he can get a good game out at Bath would be beneficial.
I think he'd play whatever, even if his shoulder's not fully back. He needs to. He loves the club. You can see that. So
he needs, and he's not going to get.
It's too long contract, but he'll want to play the last couple of games.
Yeah,
and he knows that if he wants a chance at being in the semi-final team, he's going to have to get some game time, isn't he? Because if he doesn't play in that game, he probably isn't even considered for the semi. So, I mean, I think the 90-0 sort of training run at the weekend really changes mentality for Bath, because if we don't go full strength against Bath, when the last big game would be Leinster, when a lot of them had a proper contest, and therefore there's probably too long going into a semi-final.
No, I think rotating and resting too many is too much of a risk. Not necessarily for the game against Bath, because I think we've got a home semi-final, and yes, I'd love to come first in the table, because I feel like if we don't, it's going to be Saracens, and I just don't want to see that in my life. But I would understand if some are rested or some come off early, or if you don't go and get the win at Bath, it's not completely the end of the world, but you want to go into the semi-finals on a win if you can. And like you said, if you rest them for Bath and then there's a week off and then there's still another week till the semi-final, it's the same situation as Gloucester. It's 3 weeks with no rugby for some of those top guys. I wouldn't do that if it was me personally. And like you said, especially as like you said, that game against Gloucester didn't really test them. It didn't feel like they had to use too much energy. I mean, I'm sure it was.
Yeah,
they did. If you know what I mean, like it was a hot day and a lot of running, but it wouldn't have taken too much. Realistically, it wouldn't have taken as much out of them as, like you said, an actual contest would have done. So for me, I still feel that you've got to go fairly strong.
Yeah, I think we need to go really strong, almost even if just to kill a bit of Bath's momentum, But it's a massive
Yeah.
game because we could end up playing them twice, couldn't we? If we lose and don't finish top, we could end up playing them in the semi-final at home. So if they smash us in like next week, well, that just gives them all the momentum going into the
exactly.
final. I mean, and if you look at the team that they've got on paper, and in reality, their form is phenomenal. Back row of Ted Hill, Sam Underhill, and Alfie Barbary. I mean, that's massive. That's ball carriers and big tacklers. I mean, that's a challenge and a half to try and deal with that. And then if they do get over the front foot, you've got Finn Russell, Redpath, Lawrence, Cockanasinga, Gallagher, Muir. I mean, the talent is insane. Like, I think we almost have to go full strength, beat them, just to confirm in our head that we can. Because when we beat them at the Gardens, they didn't have Finn Russell. And that's always going to be an excuse. Oh, well, don't worry about that game. We didn't have Finn. Well, if we go to Bath, beat them in their own backyard with their full-strength team, that gives us a real impetus. And also means we don't have to play them. We'll end up playing maybe Exeter or...
one of about 3 or 4 different teams are still in it, yeah.
Because Sale could still beat Sarries, They're not going to lie down.
No, yeah, I mean, so if Sarries beats Sale... Yeah, if Sarries beat Sale are out of it. But if Sale beat them, they're pretty much guaranteed 4th. I think Sarries beat Sale, if I'm being honest, at Sarries. So therefore, we need 2 points to finish top. If we don't get them, we'll finish second, probably. So it makes things very difficult. But then Sale could shut up shop and keep them, not to get the bonus point.
Sanderson against his old team.
Yeah, there's a lot of connotations that could come out. There's a lot of
just looking at the fixtures, the only one that's a dead rubber really is Gloucester Newcastle, isn't it? And what's the bet in Newcastle beat them? They'll be at their first win, won't they?
Well, you're assuming that Gloucester rest players against us. I can see them continuing to rest players against Newcastle. And as you said, it's Newcastle's last chance, so I wouldn't be surprised at a Newcastle victory.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Gloucester, they might have a hard training week ahead of them, and they might.
No, agreed. I'm not saying they'll definitely lose. It's just Newcastle have a way sometimes of just turning over people that you wouldn't expect, and doing it at times and I just think they're going to be really gunning to have a victory on the board. And I think it's probably the best shot that it's the only shot they've got now, but it's probably their best chance considering the circumstances of Gloucester in the final and that. But then Gloucester might go strong again because they don't want to lose 90-0 and then lose to the bottom of the table the next week after. So, like I said, there's so many questions about what's going to happen. But yeah, in terms of bringing it back to us, yeah, I think we need to go strong. I don't think we've got much of a choice because, like you said, it's not just the fact that physically that's quite a long time off if you don't. But like I said, it's the mental side of it. Like, yeah, there's a risk that they go and they lose to Bath. You think, what's the mental implications about that? But they'll still learn something from playing that team, and they'll still be able to take something from that into a potential semi-final against them. So there'll be learnings for it, whether you lose or you win.
Do we not just need a point?
2.
No, we need 2.
Because if Saracens win, they go above us on wins.
No, we'd be the same wins, but they have a better. Well, they did have a better points difference.
I'm saying we scored 90-0 at the weekend,
but they may not now. Yeah,
they've still got a better point difference than us.
Have they really?
Yeah. So I think we need 2 points to guarantee it. But other things.
Yeah, they do still have a better points difference than us.
Yeah. So we need 2 to guarantee it, but obviously they might not get 5 points. They might get 4 points. So there's lots of things that come into it. I think,
but even on 4, I mean, if they get 4 points and we get nothing, they still could. But so 2 points is really what you want. But like I said, you should never. I don't fit when you've already made. I know people say we've already made it to a semi-final. We can kind of, and it's a home semi-final. You don't want to take your foot off the gas. You don't want to be losing momentum as you're heading into that. I just don't see how that. Because like I said, that's potentially what's going to have happened to Gloucester now. We obviously don't know what's going to happen. They might win that Challenge Cup final, but they've put themselves in a really difficult position. Yeah, just mentally, I would say, in terms of just like you said,
it's not like we've got a European final to worry about. So play them, win the game.
Yeah,
and like you said, and there'll be 2 weeks in between the Bath game and the semi-final. So if something does happen, people pick up a couple of small knocks, they will potentially have the time to shake them off. So, I mean, at first I was thinking we would rotate, and we talked about this a couple of weeks back, and I think we felt pretty confident they would. And now I'm fairly confident that they won't.
Yeah, no, I think now it's a win-win to go down there with a full strength side. I think you go down there and it's a tight game. If you tight game and you win, I mean, the momentum's enormous. But if it's a tight game and you lose, well, you've gone down there. You've had a feel of what they're Bath are about. You've learnt the players on the pitch who are going to be in the semis have learnt the lessons they need to learn against that side. You know, it's minutes v that team potentially going to play, but also that contest and that will help them anyway. So and they'll learn from it. I think there's more to be learnt from playing rather than the risk of injuries and being right. So
and to be honest,
it's the right thing.
I mean, we've had injuries throughout the season and we've managed. Like, I think the good thing that we have now as a squad is that even if you get some injuries and you can't maybe play exactly who you want in a semi-final, for example, the talent that we still have, I would still be confident to get us over the line. Like, if we've got Odendahl's just come back, Seabrook's recently come back. If you had to start them, I wouldn't be worried about it too much. Lichfield, I mean, obviously you want your Dingwall and your Freeman, obviously, always. But, if Lichfield had to step in, you aren't necessarily going to lose too much if you do pick up some injuries. So I still feel like a semi-final at home, if you picked up a couple of injuries and some aren't quite ready, I still feel like there's some really great talent that you can rely on and are safe to rely on.
Well, like I said, we've not had Pearson and we've not had Ludlam, and yet people have stepped into the breach. Angus Scott Young or Graham have stepped up and done really great jobs. The depth of talent there is unique. I think next season we're not going to have that same depth. It's just we're in this sort of Goldilocks season whereby we've got these youngsters who are stepping up whilst the older players who are leaving are still here, and it just means the squad is in such real good health. So if we're thinking that we're going to go stronger side, what are we thinking? Are we thinking Loosehead? Are we thinking Waller? Are we thinking Iogan? Maybe Tarek? What are we thinking?
I'll start Iogan this week.
Yeah, I probably would start Iogan actually, because I think, and I'd still take Waller as the bench option, and I still get him out and get some minutes in him. But I just think that, not that you want to wrap him up in cotton wool, because as I said, I don't like the fact that he could have 3 weeks off. I don't think that's beneficial. But I also think that just the experience that Waller has, you need him to start the semi-final, I would say. You just need that. You need him to bring, what he's been bringing all season. I think he's had one of the best seasons of his life, and he's obviously retiring because that's obviously how that works. But I think you'd start him at the semi-final. So rather than giving him a rest, I would use him as the bench option against Bath and give Iogan a bit more of a run out, because again, he'll be the bench option then for the semi-final. You want him to be fresh as well. So, you could give him a 50, 60 minute run out and then bring Waller on, who still gets a good 20, 25, maybe 30 minutes.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the experience that Waller has, Iogan can learn more from that game than Waller can. I think, when you're in as an experienced player as Alex Waller is, there isn't necessarily the need to keep throwing them out there, because they can pull on that experience a little bit more. Yeah. So I wouldn't even be surprised if maybe he doesn't play.
It's potential.
But I think Iogan 100% I would play. What about a hooker? Are we keeping the momentum of the winning formula of Langdon with Matavesi off the bench, or are we swapping them round?
I would swap them round for exactly the same reason for exactly the same reason that you want to get enough minutes in both of them. And like you said, Matavesi did 50, 60 over the weekend, and then Matavesi did the opposite. And so I just swap them. It's just a case of you're going to need both of them on the day. Make sure they've got some good minutes in them, really. And I think you can rely on both of them. They both will. I mean, Langdon, I think, just edges it for me in terms of who the first choice would be, but they're both very reliable, and they're both very, very good around the park as well as in the scrums, and I feel like you can rely on either of them. So they're obviously going to be your two options quite clearly for a semi-final. So it's just a case of getting some minutes and getting some time out there.
So,
but again, I wouldn't mind. They could just as easily still stick with it.
So having said we'd go full first choice, are we now going to say we're not going to start Trevor Davison?
That's the thing.
No, I'd still
be
start Trevor Davison.
I'd be sentimental here and give Hilly a start because it could be his last game for the club. He's back fit. He said he's back fit.
Yeah,
so let him play, then have Davison on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, that Bath pack is a big old pack. And is it really being sentimental giving him a Beno Urbano to deal with for the afternoon? I wouldn't. It all depends on, because Mills and Davison are at just this perfect peak of form at the moment. And so therefore it's a case of, do we go with those two? And it doesn't really matter either way round, because in the front row, they both play, either side play both minutes. It's not like you get 10 minutes at the end. You play quite a good chunk. So it's almost like whether you go with those two to keep the form rolling, or Paul Hill, who has been a phenomenal figure at the club for such a long period of time, do you play him, start him, and bring Mills off the bench or Davison off the bench, or do you bring him off the bench, etc. So I'm sort of with you. I think I would probably have Hilly in the mix.
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to disagree with both of you. God love the man. He's an absolute weirdo, and everyone at the club has said he's an absolute weirdo, but he's fantastic. I still wouldn't. I wouldn't risk the good form that you've got going with them too. I think, but they might put Hilly on the bench to test him, see what he's like. Maybe he is in some good form, but at the moment your informed players, like I said, are Davison and it is Mills. And
do you not think Big Trev deserves a break? He hasn't had I don't think he's had a rest for weeks.
No,
weeks.
That's what I mean. Like, I know that Charles, you said we said we would go with first choice, and we're already talking about changes. But I actually do think that it's very close in those positions to who your first choice is. So I feel like whichever you start and whichever you bench, you're putting out a really strong team anyway, and you're still taking your first team players, whether they come off the bench or not. Yeah, you could. I mean, it depends. I don't know what Hill's injury is. I don't know if it's the kind. Yeah, he is. Yeah, but I don't know if it's. I don't know what it was, how serious it was. Would you start him, or would you? I'd be surprised if. No, agreed. But he is, but I don't know. I think just me personally, I wouldn't mess with what you already had there. Whether you start Davison or start Mills, they feel like the two choices for me, just based on what they've done over the past few weeks.
Yeah, it is a question of whether sentimentality becomes a question, whether the coaches will think that, probably not. But then it all depends on how many, and also just looking at Bath, I mean, who is going to match up against Urbano and Schumann the best, and whether that is Big Trev and Elliot Mills, who are more scrummage-based props, even though they're terrific around the park. Or
I was going to say that they won't agree with that after what they did at the weekend.
Yeah, or you go with Paul who can get low and really take them to levels that they don't want to. That might be, a consideration. Yeah. He against Exeter, when we played them, his scrummaging was phenomenal. He took them so low that they just couldn't cope with it. So there's a tactical element to it as well. But
yeah, definitely.
I think it's amazing. We're not going to have it next year, but the option to have three international tight head props. All three of them have got international caps. That is a phenomenal experience to be in, and a place to be in. And I'm actually going to thinking about it. I don't think any club in the Premiership have got three international tight heads. People moan about
probably Saracens.
No, but they haven't, have they? I mean,
I don't think they have.
They did a few years. They had four tight heads, international tight heads a few years back, but now I don't think that they've got Riccioni and it's Judge who's not an international. So, yeah, anyway, moving into the second row. I mean, I think the dream team of the two Alexes continues in my view.
You go. Unless I don't know, rest Colsey maybe on the bench, maybe. Let start.
He came off not early, but I'm sure he came off with at least 20-30 minutes to go last weekend. So he hasn't done a full 80. He's probably still fairly fresh.
And he's young and he'll be all right.
Yeah.
They're big lads running around in the sun at the weekend, so that does take it out of them, doesn't it? I think, if you're that size and you're trying to move around that distance, I mean, towards the end of the game, that last 20 minutes, Moon was starting to Tara, I thought. I mean, and it's not surprising, but because of the pace of the game and the size of him. But like a few of the penalty that Charlie Atkinson actually had was because Mooney just flopped on the ruck because it just looked like he had nothing more to give. But
so maybe you bench him this week. Maybe keep Coles in there and start Timo instead. And like I said, Timo had a fantastic game when he came off the bench. Like, I think he's not necessarily quite the level of Moon per se, but he's a very, very, very good option to have in there. Like you said, he was great.
That's the thing with him. Little offloads and that.
Yeah.
Naturally gift offloading.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to go with the mentality of going big to challenge the Bath pack, so you're starting Trevor Davidson, for example, then I think you do start Alex Moon because his impact on the scrum is enormous. So you could almost go Moon and Timo just because they're the weightiest pairing. And we've got some great players below that, Lockett and Munger, but I just don't think they've played enough recently to really be in contention unless we're completely rotating the side. But if we're going full strength, I think it's amongst those three, and one of them's on the bench, the other two are starting.
Yeah, and I mean 6, 7, and 8 heavily depends on who is going to be available. Lewis said he is, so I'm going to imagine he's potentially going to start, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I think he probably will, and so you've got to assume that'll be at 7, I guess.
And then the question is whether Pearson's fit or not.
Yeah, and it also depends on what they want to do with Courtney, because you always think that guy you always think just give him a rest, but he probably doesn't want it. Because I think he's as motivated as ever to win.
I wouldn't play him.
I wouldn't either, but he'll want
to.
No,
I wouldn't either, but he will want to. I've got
absolutely
no doubt about that in my mind. But
he doesn't need game time.
No, he definitely doesn't. But for him, it'll be the same as everyone. He'll have an absolute desire, I can guarantee it, to not just win the whole thing, but to finish as number 1 on that table at the end of that.
Yeah. No, I think
so it depends how much they take into that. It may be that they bench him and he still comes on for a little bit to throw his weight around in the last 20, 30, who knows. No, I see what you mean. I wouldn't necessarily play him either, but it's a case of if he's ready and he's raring to go and he wants to do it, good luck trying to argue with that man. I'd just be like, do what you want, mate.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Dallas can tell him what to do. Pretty sure. But I think I wouldn't take Courtney. I think if Ludlam's fit, then I'd play Ludlam, and if Pearson's fit, I'd get him involved, and I'd probably keep Scott Young in. I think the work rate he brings to the pitch is tremendous, so I think I would keep him in, and then it's a case of Gus or Graham at 8. Gus seems to have the nose at the moment. Bearing in mind how good we were at the weekend, he's probably played better, but he was tremendous. Graham,
he was. And against Leinster too, I think he was our standout player against Leinster, I would say. So I think for the past 2 weekends, he's made a statement, and it's probably partly because he knew that Graham had the nod.
Yeah, and so I think that all comes down to the coaches knowing how to manage them best, and whether he will be better off resting or playing, they'll know. So if he is going to be the man that they think is going to be starting against in the semi-final, then whatever is best for him, I'd say. But I'd go Augustus probably at 8, Graham off the bench, and then hopefully Ludlam and Scott Young, and have Pearson on the bench if he's available. But that would be
and then I think for 9,
cover 7 and 8 Cardi, and 6 if you had to.
True. Yeah, I think for 9, I'd actually love Alex Mitchell to death. He's one of the best. I'd still potentially have him on the bench and start Tom James, just because I think Tom James is fantastic in his own right, and I think just in terms of
you're rotating the whole squad.
We're not going to go full strength. Totally changed to we're.
But I still think starting with Tom James is pretty close to full strength in my mind. And for me, I didn't say rotation in terms of don't put someone on the bench. For me, rotation is just not taking anyone. Like Gloucester barely brought anyone. That to me would be a mistake. I would still take Mitchell, and they'll probably start Mitchell. If we're being honest, they probably will. But I don't think we would lose anything if we started Tom. Like, I still think that's a full strength team for me. Even if you started James.
Unless James, it was just I was just a bit worried. I don't know if you noticed his knee was very, very much taped up, which was a bit of a worry. But
he was moving well. Though. I mean, he went.
No, he was. He was good.
Pitch, didn't he?
I would go with the line as we did against Gloucester, unless
I would definitely.
If Ram's fit, I'd bring Ram in, but I'd go full strength. Mitchell, Finn, Dingers, Freeman, Slytone, Furbank, and then if Ram's fit, Ram. If not, Hendy.
I'm just
Yeah,
worried. I just don't. Finn is like him and Dingwall are the linchpins of that back line, and if one of them gets injured, Dingwall especially, that boy is. Even though we were playing a weak Gloucester side, he is the glue that sticks that back line together. When he doesn't play, we have a side.
Yeah,
He's so underrated. He's so underrated.
No, I agree fully. Couldn't agree more.
No, I would be tempted to leave it the same. I think it's an unfortunate situation that we've got Charlie Zavala, but we haven't played him, and as such, it's too much of an unknown. So Finn kind of has to play, unfortunately.
It's a tough position.
And like you said, unless Ram is back and Finn needs a rest, and they go for Fairbank at 10.
Yeah, I mean the funny thing is, like, normally 10 you can carry a 10 through, and then the injury likelihood is a lot lower, and that's why you get players like Charlie Hodgson and Nick Evans who play really late into their careers, because you don't take the physical contact at 10. However, Finn Smith flies in like he's a 7 or something.
He's Johnny Wilson, isn't he?
He is Johnny Wilson.
Absolutely puts a shift in defence. Like that shot he put on was it Bird in the Leinster game was incredible. Like, and we've seen it all year. He's not a 10 that doesn't take contact. But I think you've just got to go. You can't be worried about it. And I know there's a bit of rotation, but the back line I would keep.
And like you said, I know we sort of said at the start, like, don't rotate too much, and I've basically been like, put all these people on the bench. But I'm also like, I'd still take them. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't cut them out of the. I think that's the thing. Like you said, Gloucester had maybe 5 or 6 I recognised, and everyone else I was like, I'm really sorry, but I've got no idea who you are. Like, I would still take those guys. The
23.
Yeah, exactly. The 23 I essentially wouldn't change except a couple. Like you said, like Ludlam's probably going to come in. It's also about number of minutes too as well. Like, I think we forget that, like, number of minutes also has to factor in as to when you rest people and when you don't. And so sometimes that forces you into decisions. Like, it feels to me like Finn Smith has played a hell of a lot of rugby.
But he was away with England and he played. So
it's all about, like you said, the effect after that. Like, he's probably played most of all of the games since then. So, like, it's about number of minutes and it's about management. And so I still think that they'll start him, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it's like, no, we need Finn Smith to just, not do a full game this time.
Right, because we haven't got the final. If we had the European final, it makes a totally different thing. Because
100%.
They've got 2 weeks off. Yeah. Well, not off, but to recuperate. Yeah. If we were playing Toulouse in the final, I think we'd be sending a second string to Bath. There's no doubt. No doubt.
Yeah, no, there is. Yeah.
I think.
No, I still, like you said, I still would send that 9 to 15. I think there's a possibility that they might start James, but I think otherwise. I would probably start him if it was me, but I still think he's an excellent choice, and so I still feel like that's incredibly strong.
Hang on, hang on, slightly so we get that conversation there, because I think we missed it a little bit. Simon, you're agreeing that you would start James?
Yeah, because I think Mitchell off the bench, and he was tired at Leinster. It would have been quite tough, and just bring him 30 minutes to the end of the game, bring him on, put Bath to the sword. Yeah, James doesn't let you down. He's brilliant.
He never lets you down. That's the thing. For me, it just feels like the definition of Mr. Reliable. Yeah. I just think he comes on, and does he add as much zing as Alex? No, that's why Alex is Alex. But he is 100% a better box kicker, and Alex did get charged down at least once in that game over the weekend, so it's still a problem. It's still an issue. But it's just about management. You are going to need Mitchell in that semi-final. So if it's better for him to play 30 minutes instead of 50 or 20 instead of 60, then I would do that. And I still think you've got a really strong 9 in there that works well with the team.
Yeah, no, I really understand the logic that you've got there. It makes sense. I wouldn't, but I don't. I still don't
think they will. So
I think the point we made with Finn is, I think this season quite a bit we've actually taken him off quite early in a lot of games. He's come off at the 60th minute mark, and Ferbs has gone to 10. That sort of seemed that almost seems to be how they've caught up the minutes that they need to rest him by taking him off, because it's not starting or whatever. It's about minutes, isn't it? So they've almost like shortchanged them a bit by saying, "Oh, well, we won this game. Let's get him off quickly, and we'll stick those minutes in his bag," sort of thing. But I think one thing as well I'd want to say is I think that back line obviously had a bit of a rout at the weekend, and then obviously the week before they were hit and miss. I think they need to have a tough game where they can win the game and everything goes well, and they get to build that confidence and that sort of understanding that they can win. I think they just need that good run out of like playing well and getting the win, or playing well and coming close again, just to get, because it was almost too easy against Glos. Like I'm not sure it adds anything. It almost detracts. Like Furbank was so good. His like the way he attacked the line and the pace that he attacked the line was just incredible. But then also his kicking game, he just constantly turned them round. They never got out of the half because he was constantly putting them back and pushing them back, and he really controlled that from fullback. But you don't want him to think that that's going to happen again like every week, because if he thinks he's going to just stroll through the line at pace, even doesn't matter how good an angle you cut, you're going to get whacked every now and then. And if he just thinks it's too, if he's in that motion, I'll just cut this lovely line and I'll carve through and it's easy. It's almost, I think he needs that bit of adversity in a game just to get back on track.
It's a good argument. It's a good argument for leaving that back line the same. That, like you said, they need a win against a challenging side together, like in terms of giving them the confidence. Because, like you said, they'll come away from Gloucester and they'll be like, right, well, we were basically given free rein by that team to do whatever the hell we wanted. That isn't going to be the same at Bath. Bath have not guaranteed. Don't think they've guaranteed a semi-final.
No.
So they are going to go as strong as they can. They don't have a choice. And so I think, like I said, there'll be a few questions in there about, we don't know what niggles people have. We don't know about. It's all about management, isn't it? So we may see some of the guys from last week on the bench. Probably see quite a lot of them starting, which is what I would kind of want. Like I said, go as strong as you can, and try and get that win.
Predictions before we go.
Oh God, we've all been so wrong.
It depends on the weather, because Bath, it always rains at Bath.
Their pitch is better than it was, though. It's no longer the. They've put in
it's no longer the swamp.
A hybrid, haven't they? So they at least they have a bit of traction.
I'm gonna go.
Imagine signing Finn Russell and playing in a bog. So they fixed that problem as soon as they did that.
I'm gonna go. I don't know. I'm gonna have to go with us getting the 4 tries because I can't not. So I'm gonna go us 32, Bath 30. I'm gonna go close.
That's actually exactly what I was gonna say.
Well, I got there first, so
yeah, I'll have to change it. What do you reckon, Si?
I'm gonna go 26-27.
26. So 2 Saints, yeah. 27 to Saints.
Yeah, the way it is. 26.
Yeah. Well, I'll go in between then. I'll go 29-31. Just because I was going to say 30-32.
Or 30-32, or 32-30, which 30-32, because we're the away team, aren't we? Yeah, 30-32. Yeah. Right.
So, thank you very much, everyone, for listening. It's been an interesting discussion today, seeing as it was a 90-0 win. I think we've done all to get something out of that. But thank you very much for listening. Please like us on social media. Please give us reviews on Spotify. And please follow us on our own channels, because we've got some really good content coming up, and that's going to be the best way to get hold of it. So thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.